Welcome to Season 2 of the Packet Exchange. Wow, we just got done with Season 1 and now we're already on to Season 2. No more episodes for Season 1. Wow, I gotta change my mind as to where the whole Packet Exchange thing was heading, and I want to focus on network automation. And so this seemed like an opportune moment to change over to Season 2 to kind of signify something new is coming and that we're going to be focused on network automation. And so that's where we're at. Network automation. In this season, we're going to be going over some fundamentals, some basics to help you folks that don't even know where to get started, and some of these concepts, it just all seems a bit too much. We're going to start at the beginning. We're going to do some Python scripting, maybe look at some other tools. I haven't mapped out every episode in the season yet. Today, we're going to be working on Python basics, but first, some news. One bit of news this week from Itential. Itential is a network automation vendor. They are the middleman, kind of the API you write to, and they worry about taking your commands and translating them into whatever it needs to be translated to make your wishes happen in a variety of different network devices. So the big idea is you write your code to Itential. Itential takes care of all the magic. And if you've dealt with a multi-vendor network, and you know there's a lot of differences between Cisco and Juniper and Arista and on and on and on it goes, then a tool like Itential is saving you some coding and saving you some headache as you try to manage that multi-vendor environment. Well, they've enhanced their platform here. They announced data transformation capabilities, and I'm going to get a briefing on this, and I'll talk about this a little bit more next week if necessary. But the big idea is that they are debuting pre-built transformations to enable network teams to rapidly integrate and transform data between any IT, open source software, cloud, and network technology in real time. It's adding to their capabilities and functionality here. The whole value prop of Itential, again, you talk to Itential with your code programmatically, and you let Itential deal with translations underneath. So they're doing more with that with this data transformation feature. That's all the news this week, and let's move on to talking about, well, Python. If you've never done any Python before or never done any programming before for network automation, let's get you started. All right, so let's talk about some Python basics here. And the whole big idea is if you've never done anything with programming, I'm assuming you've not done anything, and you just need some real basic orientation, great. This is your quick introduction to Python. First of all, you can choose whatever platform you like. There is Python interpreters that are available on Windows, Mac, Linux, Raspberry Pi, and I'm sure lots of other places as well. So whatever platform you want to run Python code on that you have written, very good. You can just pick your platform and run with it. I'm not going to explain how to install it or any of that stuff. There's a million Python installation videos out there. You're a bright person, you can figure that out. Second up, Python 3, not Python 2. You will see there's some discussion out there about Python 2 versus Python 3 interpreters. Python 2 is no longer being developed. Python 3 is where you want to be. Don't think about it. That's what you want to do. Python 3, no question. Another thing here, what do you write code in? Any plain text editor you want. Any plain text editor is just fine. You will find all sorts of arguments and discussions about what the best place is to develop your Python code. To get started, Notepad, that's just fine. You can use that if you like. The big, not Microsoft Word, right? Because Word's gonna clutter up your code with a whole bunch of other Word, Microsofty things that you don't want. A plain text editor. And then finally know that although Python comes with a ton of functionality out of the box, you are going to extend Python functionality with libraries. So libraries give you more commands and more nifty things that you can do within that Python script. And there's tons of libraries out there. You'll be using them all the time, especially as you go down the network automation road. If you've never written Python or any sort of scripting at all before, you may be struggling to understand what you're exactly trying to achieve. Well, most code can be boiled down to this. You're going to fetch input from somewhere. You're going to do something with that input, and then you're going to output the result. That's it in a nutshell. And to give you an example here, You could, for example, send a command to a switch and then retrieve the result. That would be some input, something that you've brought into your code. Now you're going to copy that result to local memory, perhaps, maybe in the form of a variable. This would be the absolute simplest kind of processing you can do, because you're basically always going to do this. You're going to take that input and then you're going to have it in memory so that you can, typically you're going to do more sorts of processing with it, but at the very minimum, you're going to at least have that thing in memory there in the form of a variable. Now you've got this thing. And then you're going to process the output, for example, print the result to the screen. Absolute bare bones, simplest kind of thing you can imagine. And you can really map all code to this. Something with the input that you're getting from somewhere. You're going to do something to it. You're going to manipulate it. You're going to put it somewhere. You're going to write it out. Some sort of a process that you're doing with that input. And then finally, you're going to print out the results of what you have done. That could be a report. That could be a status code verifying that everything's okay, and so on. It doesn't really have to be all that fancy. So that's the bare bones basics to kind of orient you on Python. And I'm a person that learns by doing. I hope you are too, because we're going to be doing a lot of that in this series. Let's take a look at a very simple Python script and walk through it line by line. So here's a demo. I've got a single switch in a GNS3 lab that I want to retrieve the known MAC addresses off of. Real simple. We're going to take a command, send that command to the switch, retrieve the output from the switch, and then print it to the screen. That's the whole thing that this little Python script's going to do. Not very complicated. And let's look at it from an SSH kind of way. So here's the switch. I'm going to connect to it. So I'm logged in. I say show MAC address table, and I get a result. You can see the result there that via SSH is spit out to me. This is just standard command line stuff like you could do on any switch. Okay, let's go over to Python. I got an example here. I've already run it once. I'm going to invoke the Python 3 interpreter and run this little script I've called machunter.py. Takes a second. In the background, it's logging into SSH. It is running that same command, and it is going to spit that command out, the output on the screen, and there we go. Looks a little different than the last time. Yeah, typical switch stuff. I've got the same result in the CLI that I got from Python, the same exact result here. A little different than before. Looks like we lost the 3E33 MAC address, fell out of the bridging table on that particular switch between the last time I ran this and now. Now, what happened that we could do that in Python instead of just the CLI? Let's take a look at the script. Here's the script. I am importing a library in the first line, line 1 there. It says import Netmiko. Netmiko is a library that is extending the functionality of Python for me, gives me a whole bunch of nifty ways that I can interact with a command line and get the results back into Python without me having to tell Python things like, you gotta log into SSH like this, and then you gotta wait for this command prompt thing to come up, and then when you see that, it's okay to send the command. I don't have to go through all that. Netmiko just handles all of that for me. Starting on line 3, I've got this thing called Cisco underscore switch equals open brace, and then I got these 4 lines here. What I'm doing is defining a dictionary that have, a dictionary in Python is a series of key value pairs. I've got a key, and then I've got a value assigned to that key. So I've got a key of device underscore type, assigned a value of Cisco underscore iOS. I've got a host key with a value of 172.22.46.1, and then a username and password keys from there. By itself, that Cisco underscore switch doesn't do anything. It's just a store of these key value pairs, this Python dictionary. I'm going to use this as information to feed to a Netmiko process in a bit, specifically line 10. That's what we mean by in a bit, just line 10. Woohoo! So net underscore connect is a variable that I've said is equal to something. What is it equal to? It's equal to the Netmiko library dot connect handler. Well, connect handler is it's a method on the Netmiko object, and I am feeding it with that asterisk asterisk Cisco underscore switch all of the values that were in that dictionary. You kind of get it as like, oh, hey, Netmiko Connect Handler, you need to know that this is a Cisco iOS device. You need to know that the IP address, the management IP address of it is as follows, and you need a username and password so you can log into the thing over SSH. So Netmiko does all of that magic for me. Now let's move to line 12 here, Mac underscore list equals net underscore connect. Well, what's net underscore connect? It's a thing we define in line 10, right? Net underscore connect dot send underscore command. Net underscore connect dot. Okay, well that dot's significant. It means net underscore connect is an object that's got a bunch of methods there that I can assign. And the send underscore command is one of those methods. What command am I going to send? I'm going to send the literal show space mac space address dash table, just like we would type at the CLI. So this is how I, in the Python script, tell Python what it is that I want to do. In this case, what I want Netmiko to do. So net underscore connect dot send underscore command is going to act on the net underscore connect that I defined in line 10 with that Netmiko connect handler thing. It is then going to run the command show MAC address table, and the result is going to live in MAC underscore list. That's what we're really saying there with line 12. MAC underscore list really equals the result of what I get back from net underscore connect dot set underscore command. Now that I've got that result back in MAC underscore list, I am simply in line 13 printing MAC underscore list, which gives me back the output at the CLI. That's all that really happened there. It seems a little cryptic because it's Python, it's a programming language, and like any program languages, it's got syntax, it's got a lot of different ways you can tell it to do things. There are probably several ways I could have written that script to end up with very simply this result. Notice that it's taking several seconds to execute. Well, what's happening here? Well, Python and Netmiko, it's doing a lot of things for you in the background, right? It's logging into the switch. It is waiting for the character output coming back from the switch on this SSH line that's been opened up in the background. It has to parse and interpret what it's seeing so that it knows, the switch is ready for me to feed it a command. It's then going to feed it a command. It is also doing things like turning pagination off for you so that if you had a very long bunch of output, whereas on a CLI, normally you'd have to press space to continue to see the next page of output. You don't want that with a Python script. You just want to get all of the output back, not paginated output. So it's handling that for you. And then the response is being sent back into the Python script and it is saving it for you. So then the last thing that happens there is it's doing that print and then printing it out to the screen. So Netmiko is a library that is extending Python functionality for me and giving me the ability to interact with Cisco devices. Netmiko is, there's a lot there. If you go back to the Scraply demo, Scraply is a similar kind of a tool. Netmiko's just been around longer. Scraply is really optimized for speed. Netmiko is very capable just with more maturity and more libraries to interact with different network devices. Now, you're looking at this script we've written. This is all we're going to cover today. This is it. And you're going, Banks, dude, you get the same output at the command line as you did from Pythons. That is not network automation. That is not exciting. Yeah, but we got to start somewhere, right? So we're going to start here. I'm trying to keep it straightforward for you and compartmentalize the information. And to be fair, getting your head wrapped around what's going on in this very simple script could take a bit if you've never seen this before. You need to understand in line 1, we imported a library. And then in lines 3 through 8, we defined a dictionary with a series of key value pairs that we are passing to a process in line 10 that is going to actually open up an SSH socket using that information. And then in line 12, we're sending a command here, and saving the response to a variable and then printing that variable out and putting it to the screen. If you've never done that before, that's a lot. But you're exactly right. We didn't automate anything. We just used a script to go do the same thing we could have done on the CLI. What did that really achieve for us? Think about it this way. In order to automate things, this is kind of your starting point. You need to be able to interact with the device and then get that output returned to you, so that the next step, the next logical step, would be acting on that output in some way, doing something with it, generating a report, discovering some information. And I have a notion here that maybe we can write a script that's going to go through a whole bunch of different devices and find a MAC address for us. Like, say we knew from a packet capture that some IP address or some MAC address was causing us some trouble. What about a script that would go through all the network devices that are on your network and find where that MAC address lives and what physical port it's on without you having to dig through and figure that out? It could pull it up for you. That is a pretty big building block. Maybe we'll work on that. Maybe we'll work on some other things in this season, but we're starting here. If you got any comments or questions or things that I needed to explain more and a diligent internet search did not come up with the answer for you, let me know in the comments. I'll address them in the next episode in this season.